I self-disclose and say that I grew up with an IEP. I have a disability and had a disability. But that did not stop me from being able to graduate high school, go to college, get a master's degree.
This is Blair Durham with Black Wall Street Today, your media hub for all things Black entrepreneurship, politics, news, and events in Hampton Roads and beyond.
And now, more Black Wall Street Today with Blair Durham on Smooth 88.1 WHOV.
Greetings.
Welcome back. It's the 111th edition of Black Wall Street Today with Blair Durham. We are focused today on social entrepreneurship in the age of COVID-19. And joining us now is Cheryl Poe. She's founder of Advocating for Kids, which actively advocates for children and youth who have physical, emotional, behavioral, and learning disabilities. Far too often, school divisions ignore the individual differences and needs of our children, leaving them frustrated, isolated, and overlooked. With over 15 years of various mentorships, training, and experience, Mrs. Poe is a passionate advocate who has become a nationally recognized special education advocate. She's walked the walk as a parent of a Black American child with a disability and understands the fears, trauma, and struggles that parents face. Her oldest child was a victim of a school system that failed to believe he deserved the services needed to be successful and who used his race as a factor to treat him less than. This led her to become a founding member and current board president for the National Allies for Parents in Special Education and so many others. Welcome to the show, Cheryl. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me here today.
I am super excited to have you here. I have a background in special education and know firsthand kind of the travesty of this scenario. So why is this kind of advocacy so important, particularly to and for the Black community?
Wow, that's a big question, right? Because people do have disabilities. People do learn differently. I self-disclose and say that I grew up with an IEP. I have a disability and had a disability. But that did not stop me from being able to graduate high school, go to college, get a master's degree, and now become a national advocate. So I want to kind of change sometimes the language we hear about special education and Black students. The research is always negative. It's always about how it harms our kids, but it never talks about how it can help our kids when it's done correctly, when our parents are listened to, when the playing field is leveled, when you have the information and the resources to be culturally responsive to the needs of the family, then special education can be a tool that parents should be using and should learn about in order for their children to be successful. And usually what happens is the opposite, right?
Mm-hmm. When I'm thinking about the system, right, the quote-unquote system, and I know that for many families, schools are simply an extension of other discriminatory systems, right? And so in many cases, you talk about building relationships and trying to break down barriers, but for so many parents, they've not effectively learned how to advocate themselves. For their children. They may not even recognize when a disparity is taking place in the classroom. So I would, if you would just share some of the work that you do with parents, maybe give us some specific examples of ways that you've intervened to kind of help us think through what the possibilities even are, right? So expand our awareness in terms of what advocacy can mean.
Well, you brought up a good point, and I kind of want to just call it, I'm a real authentic person. So what you're talking about are the institutional racism that exists within our public educational system overall, but even more specifically, our special education communities, our disability kind of communities, they follow that. And when I will define institutional racism as policies, laws, regulations that are developed only by white people. And there's no Black voices, no Black attendance, no Black participation, no Black perspective that is in that actual regulation. And then used, even though it's a race-neutral law, it's then used to engage in disability and racial discrimination. And that's what you're talking about. And yes, that happens. So that has been the trend for Black families in special education, that it's a system that takes advantage of the minority family, thinking that because as Black folks, let's be real, special education or disabilities, mental health illness isn't something that we talk about very comfortable. And they know that. So I believe that I've experienced school districts take advantage of the things that we choose not to acknowledge in our communities. However, if you are a parent and you have a child with a disability and you're going to those meetings, I recommend that you please understand and believe in your heart when you walk in there that I don't care how many people are at that table, nobody knows your child better than you. Just nobody. I don't care how many initials they got after their name. I don't care if I'm in the meeting with you. Nobody knows your child better than you do. And once you embrace that and then start to see and be able to talk about what you know your child needs to be successful, then you come with that voice to the table and you don't sway until you get it, right? So, and because there are lots of supports, especially now, schools need to be offering students with, especially our students that may be on the spectrum, right? Our African American students on the spectrum really need some social stories that have pictures of Black folks, not white people. I get quite frustrated when I'm at an IEP meeting and the family's Black, the child's Black, but the IEP team is presenting these social stories that have pictures, right? That help people, that help tell a story, but they're all white. So right there, the child's not identifying because the pictures don't represent him, or that's just the additional reinforcement of white supremacy, right? Because even though you're working with a Black family and a Black child, you weren't even able to think, oh, maybe I might want to use pictures that look like that child, look like that parent, as I develop stories that are going to help the child learn. So that's just one example, and I have 1,000 others. I don't know that we would have time to go through them.
I think that's relevant. So you're saying that when you are, where tends to be the point at which you are introduced into the equation?
Yeah, I don't take non-messy cases, right? So, there are times when parents are just struggling a little, but with a little push and just using the right terminology, they get through it. I get called in when the parent has done everything they possibly can to work out the issue with the school district, and the school district has ignored them. Or when a school district has taken advantage of a parent's lack of knowledge, and then that parent, we call it that mama bear gut, that gut feeling, that mama bear, like you feel it, and you can literally feel it, like something's not right. Mm-hmm. And you seek out help, and then usually we find out some horrendous things have happened from situations where services haven't been provided, where a principal restrained pre-K or kindergarten, maybe kindergarten, a little Black guy, and then put it in writing to the parents saying, not only is your kid not allowed to come back to school, I had to restrain him today. And I remember thinking, oh my God, you were saying this like that is normal. At that time, we don't even have regulations for you to be putting your hands on a baby like that. And then when we confronted the white principal about restraining the Black baby, of course it changed to, it's not a restraint because it was less than 10 seconds, which is, wow, anybody listening, that is not the truth.
A restraint is a restraint, right?
Yeah, restraint is restraint. Exactly. And I want your listeners, and I know that you didn't bring this up, but this is just so important, and I'm going to be doing a lot of training on this. Starting January, the Virginia Department of Education, who is really struggling with serving the needs of Black families with disabilities, has pushed through and are going to have regulatory language where all school districts, 132 school districts in the state, are going to be developing policies around restraining and secluding our children.
Yes.
And guess what? Guess what all the research says? A kid who is restrained the most is what? A Black male or a student with a disability.
So I got to ask you this, and in fact, if you've just tuned in, this is Blair Durham with Black Wall Street Today, having a conversation with Cheryl Poe and her social entrepreneurship around advocacy for special education students. What percentage of these issues do you think would be mitigated simply by having more Black male teachers? Like, I mean, this feels like something that we kind of got to go at from multiple angles, right? We're going to really get a handle on it. You know, we are outnumbered in these scenarios, and ultimately, you know, if I feel threatened, then I'm going to be defended and protected, even if I go to, you know, beyond what is the least restrictive environment, right? It's crazy.
So I hear you. I hear what you're saying. You know, I don't agree with you, but
I don't agree with others. I don't agree with me either. I'm throwing things out there.
Right. Okay, out there. There are situations where, and let's, I'm going to try and be nice. So as Black women and Black teachers in our schools, the majority of them that I've encountered with where I believe they truly care about the kids, don't see art as much of a threat, right? That, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that they never do. I'm just saying a Black, you know, that, have you seen the example of when did my Black baby become a Black threat? And it's usually like right around first grade.
Yeah.
So, right, you know, because this is what my story is about a first grader who was restrained. So I think that plays a lot in it for Black males and Black females. I think that me seeing a 6-year-old upset, instead of restraining, I'm going to communicate with him. I'm going to find out what's wrong. I'm going to try and get him to de-escalate without putting my hands on him, right? I'm going to think of those things first. And that's not always the case, I believe, when that teacher intervening with that, if they are not the same color or the same race as the child. And then you asked me about, do I think having more Black males in our schools will change institutional racism? No. I think that we're going to be putting
institutional racism. Not that it would change institutional racism, but that it could help to create an environment where our students, our Black male students, are better supported because they are better understood and perhaps better taught simply as a function of these new relationships. I mean, I don't know. Of course, it's not a cure-all. I know of a gentleman who has put together a curriculum that focuses on, you know, cultural responsiveness, right? And he has created modules that are able to be, you know, accessed online. And I'm thinking, man, you know, he is a Black man, and so he has this experience. And it's a big.
And can I just kind of share that I believe that we have some great Black leaders, but I think they're in settings where just now they're given the space to have a voice on cultural responses kinds of things, right? I feel that, that there are people, I know, I mean, the teacher, Amani Hill, that got fired in Chesapeake. I mean, there are teachers that are willing to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to classify that document. No, I'm not going to lie to that parent. And there's such a consequence there. So, I think it's more about respecting the Black teachers and leadership that are already in the system. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm very please.
About this subject matter, and we'll definitely have you on in 2021. Thank you. Thank you for today.
Thank you.
We'll talk in just a moment. Talk soon.
This show is brought to you by Positive Vibes Incorporated, our consulting services. We do credit fixes, tax resolution, we lend private money to real estate investors, and we do debt consolidations. Basically, we put money in your pocket when you need money. We put money in your pocket when you need money. 757-932-0177.
Stay with us online at Black Wall Street Today on Facebook and Black Wall Street Today on Instagram. And then follow us on Twitter as well at BWS Today. We look forward to talking again next week. Have a wonderful week. I have said and I will continue to say that the most important priority for the Black community is the Black community, not a particular political party.
Phenomenal. Hey, yo, when I say Black, you say Wall Street. Black Wall Street. When I say Black, you say Wall Street. Black. When I say Black, you say Wall Street. Black. When I say Black, you say Wall Street. Black. Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street.
Phenomenal.